What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of KO Your Brand, the personal branding podcast for fame-ready entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Katrina Owens. Full-on gym gal is what I wanted to say. Gym gal, that's funny. Recording this live in my gym clothes with a pillow between Dexter and I, so he doesn't lick the crap out of me, my sweaty body, during this podcast episode. But here's the thing, you guys. I think I shared on one of the last episodes that has come out that I've started to enter my gym era, and I'm always trying to find like what is the lowest barrier for me recording this podcast, because I've got to be in a certain kind of mood. And at this point, do I like I was going to say, do I really care what I look like out there on the internet? I mean, I do, but there are enough like great photos of me in good outfits that if I show up on this podcast looking a little bit sweaty and in gym clothes, who cares, honestly? So that's where I'm at today. Just got back from the gym. It's like 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. So recording this a little bit later in the day than I usually do. But you know what's so funny? I woke up this morning with what I'd like to call a vulnerability hangover. Um, Yesterday, bit of a rough day for me. I don't know if it's hormones or if it was the weather or like what sent myself into a bit of a spiral. I actually had a personal training session with my trainer, Anna, last night, and I just cried the whole time. So we did like a little bit of cardio on the treadmill. And then she basically just released like my hip flexors, my psoas, my IT band. And yeah, honestly, it was basically like paying for a therapy session, not a training session. And that's okay. That's clearly what I needed. I mean, I went to the gym just before this actually. And so like if I'm looking a little bit shredded on YouTube, thank you. I'm trying. I am like fully in my gym mode now, which is kind of fun. Um I think I'd shared previously I hadn't had a gym membership in a really long time, and I definitely had some like nerves around starting to go to the gym. Like I'm always like, do I look like I know what I'm doing? Do I know what I'm doing? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Is my form bad? You know, all the intrusive thoughts. Do I know where everything is? Like, what's the protocol here? But I've started to find my groove. And oh my gosh, Dexter is having like some tummy rumbles and they are loud. So I'm not sure if the microphone's going to pick those up or not, but they're kind of crazy. You okay with your tummy? Um yeah, but I've started to like find my groove, and like something about going to the gym on a hot summer day, because like as a side note, the weather right now in the Vancouver area is like chef's kiss, 30 degrees, sunny. Like this is when I come alive, you guys. This is my best kind of weather. And I think that combined with going to the gym, doing something active, you know, wearing cute gym clothes. I bought myself some new gym clothes. I just feel hot, both like physically and aesthetically. And yeah, so there's something about going to the gym with which actually like really makes me feel like I'm in my feminine energy right now, which is really cool. And I'm sure like there's a reason for that somewhere. It's like the gym I go to, there's lots of men. I mean, I think that's probably every gym. Lots of men, lots of dudes like lifting and like, you know, gym dudes. Okay. I can just probably say that. And we all know the kind of men that we're talking about. But there's something about being around that type of energy where, like, even if I am lifting heavy, which I can, thanks to my trainer for instilling that in me, that I'm much stronger than I think I am physically. Like, there's something about being around like heavy testosterone that makes me feel like really like hot and feminine, which is kind of fun. So I strategically decided to record these episodes at the very end of my day because, yeah, woke up this morning not feeling like 100%. My energy was still off from like the spiral that I was in yesterday. think I cried it all out. And then I was just like, I woke up this morning feeling just a little bit fragile, for lack of a better word. So I spent like the day strategically trying to raise my frequency and my vibration, which I have successfully done. But I wanted to make sure I was bringing my best self, my best energy to this podcast episode for all of you. So that's why I'm recording it at like 4 o'clock. Gabriel's going to come home at any minute, which always like throws me off a little bit, but that's okay. Now I'm finally in a place where I don't think that's going to rock me too much. But hey, that's the journey of being an entrepreneur, right? Like we have highs and lows, and like I'm not scared to like cry in front of people, which I actually think is also a power move. Um I'm going to move my cups. You guys can see just how cute Dexter is as he sits on the couch beside me if you're watching this. Yeah. I don't care about crying in public or crying in front of people. And like yesterday, I just felt like I really needed a cry. And whatever that was, it was funny. I couldn't really pinpoint like what the emotion was. I think it was frustration. And I think like I had allowed someone I care about and I love very much to actually project some of their emotions onto me. And so I was kind of like my nervous system was calm, and then I was like, wait, should I be freaking out right now? So yeah, I think that was probably what did me in, and now we're great. We're great. Went to the gym. Obviously I didn't work out last night, really just like cried to Anna, but this is what I needed. And now I am here capping off this day where I really feel like I did a good job of like bringing the energy and the vibration up. And I think there are a couple of things that I'll share that I can just kind of attribute to that. So, first and foremost, I woke up this morning and I was like, I am tired. I feel groggy from like just being so tired. Oh my gosh, is your belly okay, Schmextons? Dexter's belly is really like loud right now. What I actually failed to mention was that I not only didn't work out at my personal training session last night, I actually got ice cream on the way home. So that's really like how I was feeling. So when I woke up this morning, I was just in a bit of a rough condition, like didn't feel my greatest, probably because I ate so much sugar before I then like went to sleep. But before I like did anything, I did a meditation, like a 10-minute meditation that was literally titled Raise Your Frequency. And let's be honest, that didn't help on its own, but I think it did help kind of center myself before I got my day started. So I did that. And then I really tried to like ease into the morning. I crossed some things that were like on my to-do list, kind of weighing me down like right away, just so I could feel like I was like building some momentum and taking action. And then I had 3 back-to-back calls. So I had a coaching call for the Fame Ready Entrepreneur Program, which honestly always lifts my vibe. It's always great to like be chatting with my clients and checking in and all of that. So I did that. And then I had a one-on-one client call with one of my clients who has like gone semi-viral on TikTok right now. So that also helped lift my energy because talking to one of my clients who's really crushing it and seeing her implement a lot of the things that I'm sharing with her to implement was really powerful. And then I had a like connection call with someone that I had met on Instagram. So her and I were just chatting, spent like almost an hour just meeting each other and connecting and learning more about each other's businesses. And yeah, then that's what brought me into lunchtime. And then I was like, okay, we had a workout on the calendar. My day ran a little bit longer than I was planning to, but I'm like, we got to go do that workout. So I did. And now I feel like I'm here to really share like some good vibes, good energy, and good advice with all of you. I'm just Dexter. You might have noticed he jumped off the couch and now he's waiting at the door. So I'm just going to open it to see if he wants to leave. It is really warm. Like we don't have air conditioning, so he might just be like hot. So, okay. I think his stomach is really bothering him because he does not know what he even wants to do right now. But I opened the door so he can leave if he wants to. But right now he's just standing there looking. Okay. So, with all of that, thank you for letting me kind of share where I was at in that journey. I just think it's so helpful, right? Like, as personal brands, our business relies on us to be in the best physical and mental and emotional state. So, it's so important to understand like what really lights us up. Let's dive into today's episode, which is all about how to become the go to in your industry. And I can't believe I haven't talked about this sooner because people come to me when they want to be the go to. But I'm too in my head about my business. I didn't even realize that that was the word that everyone has been using. And I have to give a shout out to John and Brittany from Rich Girl Cult, who, when I was at their masterminds back in New York City a couple weeks ago, they encouraged us to do some consumer research to see like what are the words that your ideal client use to describe their problems or what they're looking for and all of that. So that had actually inspired me to go back into some client questionnaires, onboarding questionnaires that I collected back in the day, and look at all of the responses to actually see the language. Like, I had done such great customer research back then. So, the one thing that really stuck out to me as I looked through all of these responses is just how many people had decided to work with me because they want to be seen as the go to in their industry. Such a simple want, such a simple phrase, but we're always overcomplicating things in our business, right? So, I wanted to just do an episode today on how you actually do that. So, obviously, it's a little bit of mindset, it's a little bit of PR, it's a little bit of brand. And I just thought that since this is what I do, this is such a good topic to cover. And then there's a second part to this because being the go-to in your space is actually like such a big responsibility. If you're telling me that you want to be the go to, you're telling me that you want to be a leader, you want to lead, you want to show people why your perspective or your opinion or your process is so powerful. And that's a big responsibility. And not everybody can be the go to in an industry, by the way. So if that's something that you want, you must commit to that work, which requires you to be on a very different level than people who are just working in your industry, right? So I thought that this was a really cool topic to kind of dive into because as I evolve in my own business, I actually realized that that's the journey that I'm going on along with the journey of my clients. So I got to tell you how this all evolved because it's all connected. Obviously, when you're a personal brand, building your business and your messaging and your content, everything kind of interlocks together. So last week, I had a call with my speaking coach, Coco, and I was supposed to start practicing my keynote talk again in preparation for Females on Fire in Nashville at the end of this month. When this episode comes out, that talk is like less than a week away. So I sheepishly showed up to my call with Coco and I had no preparation. I hadn't practiced my talk since I literally did it at Business Besties in Orlando weeks ago. And I had full intention of practicing and getting back into it, but I had a block around it. And so I showed up to my call with Coco, even though a part of me was like, oh, I should cancel this. And then I was like, it's too late to cancel. Hate to be a flake. Hate to waste money, honestly, on a one-on-one session. So I showed up to the call anyways, because I always believe that things happen how they're supposed to. So I show up to the call. I'm kind of explaining this all to Coco about why I haven't practiced. And we started to break down this block that I was feeling. And basically, some of the things that you started to pull out of me, the biggest thing was that I am not the same person that I was like a month ago in Orlando, Florida. And I hate the word quantum leap. I know I say that every single time because I actually don't believe that people like can do that much quantum leaping in a short period of time. But I think right now, actually, how I had described it to a mentor last week is like, I feel like I've been in this quantum leap where I've been in the air for so long that I'm exhausted from being in the air. And I'm like, when is there some like solid ground, like my next level solid ground? When is that stable underneath me? Like, I'm tired of being in the air. I'm tired of feeling like I'm doing all the things and it's coming and I'm still in the action of it. I want to feel grounded on my next level. So that was some of the stuff that Coco and I were talking through, because the talk that I had gave back in Orlando, like Coco was like, apart from like one place where you kind of went on a tangent, like you crushed it. Like there is no more work that needs to be done on that talk. But I was feeling like this is actually not a talk that I feel like I can go give on another stage. Like the old talk doesn't fit the new Katrina and doesn't fit an elevated audience that I think is going to be at this event. Because Business Besties was so amazing. It's a hyper local audience. So it's not like people were flying in to that particular event. It was definitely like more of a local community vibe, which I love. Females on Fire is a little bit different, or a lot different, I should say. Like it's a 2-day conference, first of all. So people are flying from all over North America to go. I mean, even me myself, I'm staying in an Airbnb with 2 women that I know from Florida, which is really cool. So knowing that, and knowing that this is an event where people are flying to, it's an audience that's further along in their journey. And so I had to realize that I'm no longer speaking to the audience that I was speaking to back at Business Besties. The content and how I deliver it, and even who I am when I deliver this talk, also has to change. And so the last kind of thing that made me realize that, okay, now we have to make some adjustments is my audience is changing and evolving too. And I talked to some of my audience members who are doing really big things. Women are incorporating. Women are, taking their business more seriously than they were when we first connected, like last year, or even 2 years ago, for those of you that have been following me for that long. So I need to now be speaking to a different level of audience. And so I was trying to figure out, like, okay, what does that next level audience relate to? What do they want? And it took me back to a conversation I had with one of my one-on-one clients a couple weeks ago, where I suggested that to her, to be able to start securing the PR opportunities and the stages and the things that she wants, she needs to step up and start calling herself an expert. She needs to use that title in her content, in her profiles, like as the description of what she is. Obviously, like she is in a very particular industry, so like there's more specificities in her actual title, but I want her to remain anonymous on this podcast just because, client confidentiality. So anyways, she basically, in the first conversation that we had about this, there was some resistance about the word expert in particular. And we were trying to figure out what other word we could use instead of expert. But here's the thing, you guys, I work with experts. That's what I do. And if you're not there yet and you feel like you can't claim that identity yet, that's actually some of the work that you'll do with me, regardless of where you're at in your business. So that was kind of the first thing we were unpacking. She said she was like not feeling like she was an expert and all of this. And then the conversation kind of ended and we were sitting with some other words that she could use instead. And then a couple days later, there's another person that kind of came into the conversation because she's helping her with another piece of her business. And then this conversation about the word expert came up again, until finally my client was basically like, fuck it, I'm an expert. And I was like, yes, that's the energy that I help my clients find within them. Like I help you even if you are not feeling like the expert, I'm going to help you realize that you are. Because if you're working with me, it's because you want to have that fame ready, press ready personal brand. And calling yourself an expert and using that positioning is such a big part of that. So as we break down how to become the go-to in your space, that really is number one. You have to be confident with claiming that expert title for yourself, because no one's going to give it to you, by the way. So if you start getting featured in the media, or speaking on stages or anything like that, where someone is going to be using your quote unquote job title, no one's going to call you an expert if you're not calling yourself that first. And that's the biggest thing that I want you to remember, because people are waiting for others to give them the title. They're like, one day they'll call me an expert. And that's just not how it works. Even like, think about like even like nicknames in general. Like, ain't nobody giving you like a nickname without asking if you're okay with it first. And if someone's featuring you in the media, it's because they already see you that way. So now it's just up to you to see yourself as the expert. And here's the thing, people get their back up because they're like, oh, being an expert means I have to have all of the answers, all of the information. I need to have certifications. I need to have formal education. And none of that is true. My definition of being an expert is simply the fact that you have a framework, you have a unique perspective, and you have a proven method and process that allows you to gain results for your client. So you are an expert on your very specific strategy, because we live in the world of like niches and being able to be uniquely positioned. I mean, I was reading this book. The book is called Scarcity Brain. And in the book, Scarcity Brain, all the chapters are kind of broken into like all the different ways that scarcity and abundance is like prevalent in our lives. So there's a chapter called Information. And there is so much information in this world, information overload, because there are so many niche experts. So we sometimes feel like we can never have enough information because there's so much. And that's where our scarcity brain comes into play. So that got me thinking about, yeah, there are experts in everything. You know what? If you don't step up and call yourself one, you're going to miss the boat on it. So other people are doing it. Other people are calling themselves experts for having unique processes and all of that stuff. So it's up to you to really step up and claim that title for yourself. And just a reminder that like just updating your Instagram bio or your LinkedIn to include the word expert is not enough. Okay. When I talk about claiming that identity for yourself, it's not just in the messaging, it's in how you present yourself and show up for your business. So are you showing up authoritatively on camera? Are you pitching yourself to speak at events? Are you using the language that really supports you as an expert? And the second piece to that is also like in your pricing. Are you pricing your offers and your services the way that an expert would? Because if you're not, then that's a disconnect too. Because when you want to serve a higher level client, higher level clients are willing to pay more money for the amazing service that you offer, for the expert service that you will provide. So if there's a disconnect where like, and I've actually had this before, where I hired someone and I was expecting that their service was going to be around a certain amount of money just based on like my experience in the past. And then when I got their quote, it was so much lower. And it actually made me second guess, like, is this the right person? Because maybe I'm misjudging the quality of their work. And actually, I did. So that's another piece to it. That's a very specific situation. But really make sure that your offers and your pricing of your offers reflects that expertise, because that's going to say a lot to a potential client if you're too priced too low. Because for a high level client, price isn't typically like an objection for them. They're willing to pay the best possible price for the best possible result. Experts deliver the best possible result. So take a look at your pricing and make sure that that's also giving expert. Okay. So that's number one. When you're looking to really become the go-to in your space, you've got to step up, claim that expert identity for yourself. Okay. The second part of that is you must be willing to say the thing that no one else is. And this is something that I've had a really challenging time with, as being a recovering people pleaser, as always wanting to make sure like people like me or people agree with me. But if you are going to step up and be an expert and be an industry leader, you must be willing to go against the grain and say the things that you believe in, even if they're going to be uncomfortable, because they will be sometimes. And I think I had mentioned this the other day. There was an incident makes it sound so serious. There was something that happened to me on Threads where I posted an opinion or something that I felt and I still feel like very, very strongly about my perspective on it. And someone actually came back with their own response and their own, like, kind of going against what I had said. And my instinct was, I don't want any conflict. I don't want to take up more energy or brain space with this than I have to. So I'm just going to ignore what they're saying. And then I was like, if I just ignore their comment and like pretend I didn't see it and move on, I'm missing an amazing opportunity to further educate my ideal client and show up like the expert. And that means that sometimes people are going to disagree with your perspective, and people aren't always going to like the thing that you say, and that is okay. And I actually think once you can be at peace with that and just know that being an expert or being the go-to means standing strongly in what you believe and being able to explain why, it's actually a very freeing feeling, because now I've said the thing that I was scared of saying. I got the feedback and the pushback. I responded. Nothing bad happens. So I'm going to stay firmly in my unique perspective and continue to share it. And I was actually giving this advice on a group coaching call in the Fame Ready Entrepreneur Program earlier today, because a couple weeks ago we did a Threads training. So we brought in a guest expert who has built an amazing personal brand on Threads. She came in, did a full guest training for the participants inside the program. As a side note, if you're thinking about joining the program, that training is in there forever. So if you're listening to this and you're like, it's time, I gotta join Fame Ready. Yes, you do. Head to the show notes, get the link. At the end of July, July 31st, 2025, the price of the program is increasing by $500. So please make sure you're getting into that program now to get the best possible value, because this program is so juicy. It's so impactful. I mean, we just got a bunch of the women in the program on Threads, which is so cool. And so that was one of the things we were talking about today as a follow-up to this Threads training. One of the women in the program was feeling like a bit uncomfortable with the idea of now trying to fully show up as an expert and say things that might be disagreed with on a platform like Threads, which really opens you up to like a whole new audience because it's such a discovery platform right now. And so my advice to her was, don't try to go from A to Z so quickly. Like, we don't need to go from like agreeing with everybody, being the nice girl, to like being the literal anti-hero in one go. We can pace ourselves. So we can experiment with sharing things in a way that maybe feels a little bit more polarizing, or like just starting to get our feet wet, sharing some opinions. We don't have to go all the way to like hot take. And I actually think that this is something that I could probably benefit from remembering sometimes. It was so funny. I was talking about Threads yesterday with John from Rich Girl Cult, and he basically said to me, like, Katrina, sometimes you come out on Threads like with your like dick swinging, and we don't need to do that. We can do more top of the funnel content, which is just making other people feel seen and heard, and it's less polarizing, less triggering. And then that more like dick swinging bottom of the funnel content is better once like people know who you are and you're building trust and you really want to activate people. So that was the support that I gave to this woman in my group coaching program, because I think that that's such an important thing to remember. Yes, say the thing that no one else is willing to say, because it's what you believe and you know that that is such an important thing for your ideal client and your target audience to hear. But we don't have to say it in a way that feels like so triggering or so polarizing right off the bat. We can kind of like experiment with like softer ways of saying things, right? And maybe that makes it easier for us to kind of dip our toes into the type of content that is activating. But like, let's be real. Think about some of these entrepreneurs that we all follow. Like, the one that comes to mind is like Layla Hermosi, Alex Hermosi. Like, they are saying things that make people react in a very certain way. So if you're listening to this, I mean, this is the podcast for Fame Ready entrepreneurs. So I'm guessing you want more eyes on your business. You want people to recognize you and remember you and like have you in the back of their mind. Think about the people like Alex and Layla Hermosi, who are often like saying things that make you take a second listen or like watch it over again. Like those are the things that people remember and recognize you for. It's actually, this is so perfect because today when I was doing this call with a woman that I had connected with on Instagram and we're kind of vibing, so we decided to do like a connection Zoom call. And that was one of the things that she said to me was she really recognized my kind of like anti-PR agency take, and she really agreed with it, which was really cool. And that is one take that I have been very cautious about being too loud about because I was scared of what all the PR agency owners would say to me or about me when I started to get loud with my perspectives. But I actually realized that I can't care about that part because my ideal client is not an agency. Okay. My ideal client is the person that's about to invest in an agency. And I'm like, no, don't do it. Do this instead. So I have to be louder about that perspective to make my ideal client literally stop from making the investment that they might make that's pretty costly. So that's why for me, it's so important to say the thing that no one else is willing to say. Okay. So that's number 2 in this kind of go-to expert formula. And then number 3 is you got to use public relations. Okay. I'm sure you knew that this was coming, but I love PR because it really is one of the only tactics that gives you that authority and credibility that you need to position yourself as the go-to. The third piece of becoming to the go-to expert in your space is using public relations. I mean, obviously, there is no other tactic that's going to give you the social proof and the external third party credibility and validation that you really need to be seen that way to your audience. Because at a certain point, it's not enough for you to just tell people that you're an expert, right? Like we can only get away with claiming that identity for ourselves for so long. We have to have we have to have things that back it up, like being featured in the media, like speaking on stages. Like these are the acts that actually reinforce the positioning. Like, for lack of a better word, it's the proof, it's the evidence. So you're out here telling your audience, hey, I'm an expert at this. I'm the go to in the space for this. And look, I have all of this external third party credibility backing it up. So that's why it's so important that if you do want to be the go to, PR is literally like the non negotiable because there's no other tactic that's going to give you that type of validation. And if you're sitting there wondering, like, okay, but like, won't client results or like reviews or testimonials, don't they contribute to this kind of expert positioning? And they definitely do. But like, there's a certain point where you could have all of like the glowing testimonial client results in the world. But my question for you would be, if you're so damn good at what you do, why don't people know about it? And why aren't people talking about it and featuring you? Like, that's the question I actually want you to sit with, because for so many business owners that I see, especially business owners that aren't showing up consistently on social media, if what you do is so different, so unique, so impactful, and you're changing all of these different lives and businesses, why isn't the media reaching out to you? Okay. Why aren't event coordinators asking you to speak? Why aren't you being interviewed on podcasts for your unique method? So that's the one thing that if you are like sitting here wondering why your industry isn't recognizing you as the go-to, it's probably because you're missing the PR piece of your strategy, the piece that's actually going to activate other speaking invitations or other media features. Like I know when I talk about having like a press ready brand, there's 2 pieces to it, right? It's having a press ready brand that attracts opportunities and magnetizes them to you, but then it's also doing like the active outreach to secure public relations opportunities. So sometimes when we've just like started to really set up our personal brand to attract and receive opportunities in this way, our um our personal brand needs us to like activate on it a little bit send out a couple pitches so we can start to build up that base of media features. I'm not saying that that is needing to be like the core focus for the rest of your business. Like, if you've listened to previous episodes that I've done, you'll know that I really believe that my clients should only really be spending like an hour max on PR outreach every single week, because that's like the little piece of like PR action that you're taking. And then that is what exponentially increases opportunities coming back to you. So, like, if someone is seeing you on other people's podcasts, then they're going to invite you on theirs. So, you do need to do a little bit of groundwork when it comes to PR. We can't just sit idly by waiting for the opportunities to come to us. We've got to actively be creating this amazing press ready personal brand while also employing some outbound tactics to really build that foundation. I mean, at some point, the media will exclusively just be reaching out to you. And that is when you are famous, not fame ready. So we'll have a different podcast for that when I get there. Okay. So those are the three pieces of becoming the go-to expert in your space, right? We've got, to recap, claiming that expert identity for yourself. So really, grabbing your brand by the horns and saying, I'm an expert. I know what I do drives results. I know that I'm good at what I do. And just as a side note on this, having results and like being good at what you do and having a proven process never takes as long as we think it does. Because for a lot of my clients, they're new to having a personal brand and they might even be new to having a business. But there is still work that you've done, whether it's in a corporate career or a different capacity, that you can link to the work that you're doing now to help you show up as the expert, right? So that's one thing that I would encourage you to kind of consider, because I think a lot of people will get down on themselves like, well, I haven't been doing this long enough. I don't have enough results. And that's like a limiting belief. So I would encourage you to kind of shed that and then figure out, what do you need to do to get yourself to a place where you feel like the expert. And maybe that's doing a little bit of work for free so you can have a few more testimonials under your belt. Maybe it is testing your offers in like a beta offer where people will give you feedback and you can have some results to pull from. We're not going to poo-poo any of those things because I think that they're so impactful, especially if you're like this dedicated to becoming the go-to in your space. This is the work that you have to do. And it's not always going to be like so fun in the beginning. So that's number one, claiming the expert identity for yourself. Number two, being willing to say the thing that no one else is saying. And then number three, using public relations to really blow the whole thing up and get that external validation and credibility you need to show your audience, I've arrived. I'm here. I am a press ready personal brand. The press is calling. They are reinforcing to you and to me that I am the expert in the space. So let me know if those three, I guess I'm calling it like the fame formula or like the expert identity formula or something like that. There's going to be a cool name for that, but it's all a work in process right now. But when I distill those kind of like three things down for my clients, it really is those three things that help them start to position themselves as the expert in their space. So, as a reminder, this is what we do inside the Fame Ready Entrepreneur Program, as well as with my one-on-one clients. So, quick little, plug at the end here. Obviously, I told you the price is going up for the Fame Ready Entrepreneur Program. I'm going to do you like a quick little favor and tell you which stream is better for you. If you're like listening to this and you're like, I'm interested in the group program, but what does the one-on-one program do instead? The one thing I want you to know is both programs will eventually net you the exact same results. I don't teach something different to my one-on-one clients and something different to my group clients. It's all the same strategy. My one-on-one clients just want to have the private, more high-touch experience. They need more support in implementation. They want to see more results faster. Obviously, there's far more accountability because in my one-on-one program, my clients and I are touching base like not every day, but a couple times a week. They can message me, email me, voice note me anytime for my feedback on social media content or ideas, anything like that. And we do bi-weekly calls. So every other week, we're doing a coaching call. In the group program, you're learning the exact same strategies, same tools. You get to connect with me on a weekly basis on a group coaching call. Here's the thing, not everyone holds themselves accountable to showing up every single week. The people that are dedicated to their personal brand and taking advantage of the fact that I'm showing up to give support on literally anything when it comes to personal branding and PR, that value is unmatched. Like at the end of the year, calculating like how much value and advice you've received from me on every single call you've attended would be like a power move, and also show me just how much value is in this program, hence why the price is going up at the end of July. The DIY program is perfect for you if you're like, I'm passionate about building my personal brand. I want to learn more about PR, but I'm okay with doing it at my own pace right now. And I always say that the group program is like the perfect way to decide if you even want to do this work, because it's not for everybody, right? Like some people decide that they're just not ready to really lead themselves in a way that secures them public relations opportunities, and that's totally fine. But I would much rather you make the investment into the group program first, experience it for yourself, make sure that you like the way that I teach and lead and coach. There's so many different resources, like my 5 Weeks Till Famous Introduction to PR courses in there. There are just so many ways to soak up all of the knowledge that you need, and you have access for 12 months. My one-on-one programs range from like 3 to 6 months. And then obviously you can stay on for longer in like a retainer format if that's for you. Some of my clients choose to do that, and we end up working together for a really long time, like years, which is so fun to just like see their personal brand evolve. So that's it for me. I hope you love this episode. Please rate and review this podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts. There are some of you that I know listen every single week because you tell me which episodes you loved, what resonated, what you're excited for. So if that's you specifically and you haven't left this podcast a review yet, please do. Please help other people find this podcast because they're looking for personal branding and public relations support, which really isn't a topic that's being talked about so in depth on many other podcasts. So I'll leave you with that. Follow me at Katrina Owens PR. Follow the podcast at KO Your Brand, and I will see you all next week.